Hello everyone, Mr. Stop here. This theory video is about the bad ponies. Like in my first video about the bad ponies, when I mentioned if that how the bad ponies could help Luna to overthrow Celestia after she herself was banished to the moon. If the bad ponies could have overthrown Celestia or forced her to bring back Luna back again from the moon and put all of this back to order. Well, here is my own opinions and theories about how it could happen and why. First of all, since we know that Bad Ponies is serving as the personal royal guard for Luna, ever since she actually found them at some point in history and brought them back as her personal royal guard. But then the question is, when did she find them? As we don't know. If I had to say, probably within the first few years as the princess of Equestria with her sister. And this was actually long before she was getting jealous because her sister had all attention during the day when the other ponies went to sleep during the night. So, that Luna took actually the bad ponies into trials and tests to see how they could act during the different situations, this like disaster, how they would act if Luna was out of question at the moment, and that they had to put some of them as a leader, or how they would act during any particular situation. After she picked some of them as personal royal guard, and maybe she only took a handful of them as the most, like from 5 to almost, well, maybe 8 or 10 at most, brought them back to Royal Castle, which they served her as the personal guard for the rest of the years until she was banished by her older sister. But what would happen if the royal guards actually find out after that Luna and Celestia had a battle when she was Night Moon and banished to the moon by her older sister? What would happen if the royal guard find out about this? Well, there are two possibilities. One, they just swept under the rug and kept the service to Celestia, and even reminds them that Luna will be back and they will always serving her as their own personal guard and still loyal to her, but still serving Celestia at the time to make until and waiting to Luna's return. The second possibility is that they felt that they failed their mission to protect and serve Luna, and after find out that Celestia has sent her own youngest sister to the moon by trying to take over Equestria by setting this internal night. They must have felt that Celestia had betrayed her own sister and felt that she acted all selfish, only thought of herself, and that she thought Luna couldn't be that actually true sister, or perhaps even been so truthful. So that she banished her own sister before she could even try to take over, and that they didn't believe the stories that Luna was transformed into Nightmare Moon, and that she tried to take over the Equestria from herself. No, they wouldn't even believe it. So they would try to bring her back by asking Celestia to use the elements of harmony to bring Luna back, even if they just asked her to bring her back and say, "We didn't believe all this had happened." What would Celestia's answer to be? She would probably most likely say, "No, I can't bring her back. I don't know if the elements can bring her back since she was banished for 1,000 years. You have to wait for a millennia before she can come back." Or perhaps she would say, "Otherwise, I don't know if the elements could bring her back if they have been sending there." And that might be true, because we don't know if the elements could bring her back after she has been banished from the moon. If the bad ponies didn't believe her, how would they act? They'd probably be going back home and try to recruit some of the other bad ponies in order to get so much support from their home in trying to overthrow Celestia from the power and forcing her to use the elements to bring back Luna. But even if they did themselves, there were only like 8 to 10 bad ponies in the service of Luna at a time. And since Celestia and Luna ruled Equestria together, and they had a major army of normal ponies against only 10 bad ponies, which burdened they were outnumbered against the entire normal Royal Guard army against the bad ponies. So if they had to get any chance to overthrow, forcing Celestia to bring back Luna, they had to go back home to find any volunteers of their own home and train them how to be serving only to Luna, putting the same trials and tests for them as they did years earlier to bring them back to Celestia and forcing her try to bring back Luna. Even if that their numbers maybe from 10 to maybe like 100, still probably outnumbered, but they would probably have probably some advantage against the Royal Guard, the others, because they only know they able to see through the night. The other opponents maybe they couldn't, so that was just one disadvantage they had over against the other army. But one other things that could be actually obvious, we don't know how much else we know about. But even if the bad opponents had the number increased from 10 to 50 or 100 from their home, even trying to some of them managed to capture of the other Royal Guards, or even sending them away some for a false disaster report, saying there's a strange army approaching from the north, and sending most of the army over to that, and saying that Celestia had given them order to sending part of the army to this destination, to this mysteriously strange invasion force which tried to invade Equestria during this particular time. And perhaps the captains of the guard must believe, because that is an order from Celestia, and that is off with a large part of the army to this invasion force which they didn't exist, and that from the army itself, the number perhaps from, let's say, 1,000, and this one of the captains brings a large part of the army with them, which then when the numbers from 1,000 to maybe 400 left brings a large part of the army with them, and that means even though they are still outnumbered, but they have still better chance to get to defeat the rest of the army, capture them, and put them somewhere in which they couldn't bring any particular in being danger their plan to throwing over from Celestia and bring back Luna. So if they managed to stop this, to bring back, sending away most of the army and put the other armies in out of position for a moment and forcing into this front room with Celestia, but that is one of the things that could be wrong. Since the bad ponies can't use magic, and since Celestia is an alicorn, she can use magic. She can easily teleport herself. But what if the Elbat alicorn, Elbat ponies using some sort of magical artifact, or there can only be like 3 bad ponies entering the front room, acting as normally, and the other bad ponies are waiting along the outside of the walls, outside, waiting for a particular sign and order to forcefully, quickly enter the front room and surrender and overpower Celestia before she could have any moment to act in defense. Then they could force her by sending back, try to bring back Luna, or if she doesn't, she will be paid for her suffering in the jail or perhaps bring somewhere where she couldn't do any more harm to the Equestria, and they will act as the current leader until Luna is back. That could happen if they had the ability to overthrow her with help of this some sort of surprise maneuver, like have only 3 to 4 guards entering the front room and the others was waiting outside for waiting for a signal to overthrow Celestia without surprising. Even if that works, and if that happens with the force of the army who has been taken care of so far, but that leaves one other problem. The other large army who sent away finds out there isn't any mysteriously invasion force to try to invade Equestria. So they find out this order must be false, and that this must be false order from Celestia. Not that Celestia was given this order, but they didn't believe it was from her, and that actually came from the bad ponies, sending them away, and they realized they have been leaving the castle with member of the guards still there, unprotected. So they quickly returns to the castle, finding that Celestia has been overthrown and taken somewhere only the bad ponies knows, and that the rest of the army, the freezed pony first and second groups, has been captured, bring them out, and the both parts of the army returns in together to one unit and fights off the bad ponies, forcing them to telling where is Celestia. But the bad ponies were never to explain, only that they had to bargain. They had this wanted something in mind. They reveal where she is only if Celestia could bring back their princess Luna again. Even if the captain of the guard at the time would not go for that plan. What if that guard, captain of the guard, tricks them, saying, "Alright, we will telling her to bring back Luna." But if the bad ponies realize that this captain of the guard might be lying and saying this only to get disadvantage to take her to bring them to Celestia so they can free her and use so that she can use her magic against the bad ponies and banish them. That could also happen. So why would they have a disadvantage? Then after that, if this probably happened, the bad ponies would most likely have been banished from Equestria forever. And the other part, this community with the bad ponies in Equestria would forcibly be abandoned their home to live somewhere else, and that could happen. Even if that happened, there was just one big major problem. Even if the bad ponies did overthrow Celestia, which they would never had this ability, even if they were very well trained soldiers within the army of the military in Equestria, all tactics as the others, even if that happened, what if? What if? The bad ponies could never been this well trained, even if they are trained as the other war guards and have wanted this one something advantage they could see in the dark, which other ponies might not be able to, and that even if they managed to trick the army to send away, and they had to do, and the seal, and seems that even the most part of the army is sent away, and as just one of the parts still remains, they probably still have some advantage because they have unicorns, and they can use the magic against the bad opponents, because if the number is from like 100 to 500 remains, they will still have to be outnumbered. But what if these bad opponents had their own special training back home during any particular events, give them some other advantage against the normal dragon? But we don't know. So the big question: would the bad opponents be able to overthrow Celestia in order in forcing her to bring back Luna? I highly doubt that even could even had any effect on it. And for the one saying that, well, just consider from what I have been telling during this big long video about this theory, if it could happen, even if they managed to do so, managed to bring back, sending away a larger part of the army somewhere else by saying a mysterious army is trying to invade Celestia. Even that is possible, they managed to send a large part of the army. But they had to realize that particular part of the army had to realize that they had been lied. This order was actually a false, and they have been lied or tricked, been sending away and leaving only part of the army left behind, and that Equestria, especially Celestia, could be danger. And that these bad opponents have been lying to them by sending away in a false disaster or a false danger army or something. And that they have been able, even if they comes back to Equestria, back to Canterlot, finding the rest of the army has been captured somewhere in somewhere, and that the bad opponents are holding Celestia prison somewhere, and only acting as and telling the rest of the army they will reveal where she is and release her only if she could bring back Luna. But even if the other rest of the army managed to find out, even they saved Celestia, and that still the bad opponents demands that Luna is bring back. But that is just one major problem. We don't even know if the elements of harmony could bring her back like right instant. Because if even Celestia said that she has banned her own sister to the moon for 1,000 years, perhaps the time limit could even bring that, only bring after. And I say, even if that she was sent to moon for a millennia, and that they had to wait for a millennia before Celestia could even bring her back, if she could bring her back with the elements. Because much of the elements working is still unknown. We don't even know if Celestia had the ability to bring back Luna after she banished her own sister to the moon. So, what if the bad opponents could try to overthrow Celestia, but what were the risks? What were the risks? Even if they managed to somehow just capture her for a moment, but all of them could be facing a very strange, a very hard punishment. They could all be banished from Equestria, even those back home in their hometown, or all of them could be banished from Celestia and will never be allowed to return ever again. And that brings us to another big failure. Celestia had actually didn't do that. Because in the episode Lunar Eclipse, we've seen bad opponents still in Equestria and still service for Luna. So the bad opponents will never do this overthrowing Celestia in order to bring back Luna. They still serve Celestia during the time, and that until Luna comes back and that she was reformed as she was. So that means the bad opponents were never considered to overthrow Celestia in order to bring back Luna. If they did, we wouldn't have seen them in Lunar Eclipse as they done. If she did, she would probably only had normal PSI as the carriers to carry her carriage to Ponyville at Lunar Eclipse. So, my theory about if the bad opponents could try to overthrow Celestia could either failed or succeeded. Well, it might have succeeded in some part. It might have been sending away a large part of the army, and they managed to capture the rest of the army, in that they pretending enter the front room as normal, with only 3 to 4 guards, just stand as normal, and have the rest of the army or the guards outside, waiting for the signal to enter the front room and capture Celestia, forcing her to bring back Luna. That could actually be happening if they were bad ponies, Royal Guard decided to do this. But I don't think they would ever do that. Because doing that, we're forcing them to do something that they could never win. The big punishment, the big risk is that they could be captured themselves and be sent into tolerance for as a lifetime for betraying or being traitors to the power of the Celestia, or even perhaps doing this as a coup against the current monarch system, and the rest of the kind would be banished from Equestria as another punishment, never to allow to be returning to Equestria. But I don't think they would ever consider it as any possibility to overthrow the current princess, trying in order to bring back their own princess again, like bring back the Luna. If that would happen, I don't know, but I believe they would never do it, because we would never have seen them in an episode otherwise. Well, everyone, this was my own opinion and theories about how or why or how this could even possible happening, but also I would like to hear what all you think about this. If you still believe that it could happen and why. And yes, if you have your own opinions, leave them in the comment section below. And as always, subscribe, leave a comment, and as always, this is Switch Diablo, over and out.